Hello and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. This time around, as you can tell from the hat, I'm doing some Umbrella box sets. Umbrella have sent me 3 box sets from this month's releases, which are killer. 3 different genres, 3 different types of movies, but really good packages in all of them. So we'll start with the Giallo, because Giallo is a wonderfully detailed and lush genre. It's a word that only got invented in 1929 when a publishing company in Italy called Mondadori released a sub-label doing crime novels, and they put yellow covers on them. Giallo is the Italian word for yellow. So Il Giallo Mondadori became Giallo, and it became the kind of code word in Italian for crime stories, and later on in crime films. So the first one I've got for you is Lucio Fulci's 1971 classic, Lizard in a Woman's Skin. No, that's not right. That's the original release that Umbrella did 20 years ago. Here's the new one. Beautiful box set there. A film by Lucio Fulci, music by Ennio Morricone. This is a limited edition box set of 1,000, and it's a killer release in more ways than one. The movie story is pretty simple. A woman called Carol keeps having nightmares about her next door neighbor, a beautiful ex-model who is a constant source of noisy parties and who has lots of friends and has orgies and all sorts of things like that. And Carol's having weird erotic dreams about her neighbor. Carol is played by Florinda Balkan, a beautiful actress who wasn't particularly talented as an actress. Her neighbor Julia is played by Anita Strindberg. And right from the start of the movie, you get lots of stylized nudity. You get lots of female
Fasty substances.
And you get lots of weird camera angles and beautiful Morricone music in a very 1971 style. The neighbor, Julia, gets murdered in a very ugly scene, and the policeman, Inspector Corvin, played by the wonderful Stanley Baker, comes to investigate. And Carol's family has lots of secrets. Her husband, Frank, played by Jean Sorel, is having an affair. Her father is a very, very wealthy, a very powerful barrister, played by Leo Gen, and he's got a few secrets of his own. And meanwhile, Inspector Corvin has to investigate and find out what the hell's going on. This movie has some wonderful plot twists. It has incredible locations in London, even though it's a French, Italian, Spanish co-production, and the original name, by the way, of the movie is
Una lucertola con la pelle di donna.
It uses London locations in a way that only somebody who's not a Londoner would do. They use Alexandra Palace and the roof and the interior of Alexandra Palace. They use the streets of London really well. It's just a wonderfully weird film. And Umbrella really dialed it up to 11 for this one. For a start, you've got this beautiful artwork on the front of the video, which I like. And on the back, you get something equally good. Biting, gnawing terror claws at your brain, which could be the last week in current affairs, but it isn't. Then, of course, you get the card with all of the extras on. I'm going to hold them up for a second, but I will tell you what they are. There we go. It's in focus finally. Yay. So there are a ton of extras on this, and I'll go through the extras and then I'll tell you the discs. You get a feature-length audio commentary with Troy Howarth and Howard S. Berger, which is choice. Lucio in a Woman's Skin, a visual essay by the Flying Machiste brothers, which is very good as well. I've watched that one. 1, No 1, and 100 Fulcis, a visual Howard S. Berger and Francesco Massasesi. Down Dangerous Roads, Kim Newman on Stanley Baker, and he does a nice brief overview of Stanley Baker's career. Shedding the Skin, a 2005 documentary by Chris Gavin. When Worlds Collide, Stephen Thrower on A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. From Burton to Baker, an interview with actor Tony Adams. Alternative Italian opening for the film. Credits and a Lucio Fulci trailer reel and a trailer. So you get a lot in this package. And I love that box set art. It's just beautiful and evocative. Now, inside, you get a lot of things, and only some of which I can show you. I can't show you some of the cards that come with this, so I'll get the ones over with that I can. There's this really weird Fulci Covenant pledge, which you get there, which you can read through yourself if you get it. It's very tongue-in-cheek about Lucio Fulci and the cult of Lucio Fulci. The devout followers of the Fulci Covenant membership card, so you get all of that, which is crazy, wild, and weird shit. There's Florinda Balkan as Carol. There's only some of these I can show you. There's a scene where Carol walked in on some vivisection experiments on dogs. I'm not going to show you that, even though the dogs weren't hurt during the making of that. It was actually a whole bunch of puppets made by Carlo Rambaldi, who later made E.T. But I'm not showing you that bit because it's still very confronting. And in fact, there were investigations done when the movie was made because people thought that they eviscerated and hung up real dogs, which they didn't. Not showing you that one, even though there is some interesting nudity there. There are the police, including Stanley Baker on the left, interviewing one of the suspects. Can't show you that one either. But trust me, there are some lovely images in the cards on this one. There's also a book. A lizard and woman's skin there. Fairly bare bones on the back. But there are, and I've got to be so careful with this one, which is probably why I'm doing it first. There is this thing here. This thing here is a bunch of art pieces that somebody made for various Lucio Fulci movies. But on this side, you got Stanley Baker and Flinda Balkan at a Grace Yard at the end of the film. Let's see what else I can show you. Unraveling the Lizard Skin by Chris Gowan. So there's the essay there. Again, you've got that imagery of a reptile, which continues there as well. So lots of interesting stuff, including a whole bunch of interviews, including an interview with a guy called Atticus Frost, who does Japanese tankers, Japanese poems about Lucio Fulci movies. There's an interview with this guy, so they go really deep with the extras on this one. It's a nice little booklet there. Then let's get to the actual movie itself, the disc. Not showing you, hang on, I can show you the back of that if I go like that. An erotic nightmare that keeps you on the edge of an abyss of terror. And on this side, you've got that lovely artwork. Yeah, there's nothing that I can't show you, fortunately. And inside, we've got alternative artwork. No, I'll show you that side. There's the more prosaic artwork. Yeah, there's nothing there I can't show. I've got to be really careful. On the back, you've got alternative artwork, which makes the cover of the Blu-ray look like a Giallo book cover, which is beautiful stuff. I love that. Then you get a poster, which I always like getting the posters. Let's look there. In America, and this is one of the reasons why American releases of movies of this time are stupid. In America, they call this movie Schizoid. So there's the artwork for Schizoid, which great artwork, but really dumb name for the movie. A Lizard in a Woman's Skin is a much better name. There is. And there, of course, is the disc itself, which is upside down, so I should flip that little bugger. A really nice release. And it's a movie that has an enormous cult following. And it's one of the top 10 Gialli. If you're going to make a tier list of Gialli, this would be up there on the good side of things. And Umbrella, many years after they first released this film, have dialed it up to 11 to release a really premium edition of it. And I will post links to where you can get these directly from the Umbrella website, because the collector's editions are only available there. Next cab off the rank is a 2011 film. Directed and created by a Welshman, Gareth Evans. Not Gareth Evans, the Australian politician, but Gareth Evans, the Welsh filmmaker. Made in Indonesia for $1 million, and it made at least 10 million at the box office. It's one of the movies that is in many ways a precursor of John Wick and other extreme action films like that. It's the first of a duology. It's the second action movie that Gareth Evans made after Merantau. The Raid on 4K, starring Iko Uwais, Joe Taslim, Yayan Rahia, fantastic Indonesian martial artists who do the Indonesian martial art of Pencak Silat. This movie is next level madness. The story's pretty simple. There's a rookie cop called Rama, played by Iko Uwais, who is part of a team who are going to raid a 20-story apartment building where a drug lord lives at the top of the building. They're going to arrest him, and take him away. So basically they're a SWAT squad. They enter the building. What they don't know is that every single floor of the building is full of people who want to kill them. There were snipers on the roof, take out all of the cops around the building who are just in support roles. And as they enter and ascend the building, all the cops get taken out except for Rama. And he's got to fight his way to the top and take out the big guy and his main henchman, Mad Dog, played by Yan Rahir. And the action in this movie is next level. You're not going to see anything like it in any previous martial arts movie. This is total full-on, full-bore stuff. Here's the back with tons of extra features on it. It's a limited edition of 2,500, and I wouldn't be surprised if they sell out, because this movie has an enormous cult following. And of course, because it is on 4K and Blu-ray, it is region-free, which is very, very cool. So inside you get a whole bunch of cool stuff. For a start, you get a hardcover of the graphic novel of the movie, with Iko Uwais on the front. And I'll show you a page of the artwork. Fantastic graphic novel, this one. And it follows the plot of the movie incredibly well. I'll give you another page as well. That kind of stuff. Really wonderful artwork, really wonderful addition to the movie. And of course you get art cards, but I haven't seen them yet, so I've got to be careful. I don't want to give people a view of the art cards if it's too graphic, because the arties at YouTube will get conniptions and make it a little hard for me to monetize this video. There's Mad Dog and Rama. That's the kind of guy that Rama has to fight his way to the top against. There's the cops, including Joe Taslim there. Drug Lord. A lot of body strikes and elbow strikes in this movie. I'll show you that one. This is a kind of level of stuff you get. I'll show it briefly. Yeah. Iko Uwais, really suffering there. And Yan Rahir doing a knee strike to somebody. This guy is crazily good at martial arts. And he does turn up in Boy Kills World as well, the more recent action film with Bill Skarsgård in it. He's one of the main characters in that. So there are the art cards. Here is the slipcover, which has got some great artwork on it too. Nice and simple, but it covers what it needs to. And not just simplify. You have 4K Ultra HD and a Blu-ray as well. So you've got an upgrade path if you only have Blu-ray at the moment. There's the front. And that's a beautiful, iconic image. I love that artwork on the posters and the advertising stuff for the raid. There's the back with the confirmation down the bottom that it is region free. Inside, you get a poster. Of course you get a poster with the iconic artwork. Love that. And with the artwork from the slipcover as well. And then of course you get the 4K and the Blu-ray. The raid, if you haven't seen it and you're interested in martial arts movies, you've got to see it. It is so incredibly adept at what it does. The direction is on point. The fight choreography is god tier good. And you get to care about the character. And the interesting thing, if you see the sequel, The Raid Redemption, it starts seconds after the first movie ends, which escalates things even further. It's a really nice series of films. And Gareth Evans has gone on to do other things. He created the TV series, or the streaming series, Gangs of London, which has extreme martial arts violence in it as well, which tends to be his forte. If you're a fan of action cinema, this is an incredibly good box set. Now, as far as the extras are concerned, this one's got the 4K HDR Dolby Vision feature, Dolby Vision Atmos original Indonesian sound mix, Dolby Atmos international sound mix, audio commentary by filmmakers Aaron McCann and Dominic Pearce, audio commentary by Gareth Evans himself, audio commentary by Gareth Evans and actor Joe Taslim. This too has the feature using new 4K master, audio commentary with Aaron McCann and Dominic Pearce, the raid fighting reaction video with stuntman David Chair, audio commentary with Gareth Evans, audio commentary with Gareth Evans and Joe Taslim, behind the scenes video blog, inside the score, In Conversation with Gareth Evans and Mike Shinoda, An Evening with Gareth Evans, Mike Shinoda and Joe Trapanese, Anatomy of a Scene with Gareth Evans, Claycat's The Raid, which I think might be a claymation version of a scene, The Raid TV show ad from 1994, Inside the which is weird, I'm not sure what that is. Inside the Raid documentary, Q&A with the director and cast, Lincoln Film Society Q&A with Gareth Evans. So you get an incredible amount of material there. And of course, there it is. There's the spine of it. Beautiful box set of a film that deserves this much respect. So third cab off the rank is Ozploitation, and we all love Ozploitation. And this is really interesting. Now, I'm going to go into stuff about taxation, because to talk about this box set, you've got to talk about taxation. From 1981 to 1988, there was a tax scheme in Australia that the government set up called 10BA. And 10BA gave people who invested in cinema an incredible tax cut. Basically, if you put $100,000 into a movie, you could claim back $150,000 on your tax. You got 150% tax break. And for rich people, that was really good. And so people invested crazily in Australian cinema, particularly easy to make, quick Australian cinema, because you had to get all of that done before the next tax year started for reasons known only to esoteric accountants. So at the time, tons and tons of Australian movies were made, and they didn't have to be good. They just had to get made, and then suddenly everybody who invested in it gets a tax break. So there was a gold rush of Australian cinema made at that time. Now, as things progressed, the government cut back the tax refunds to 120% and then 100%. But 10BA created a gold rush of Australian cinema. In fact, David Stratton wrote a book about it called The Avocado Plantation, talking about this incredible cultural phenomenon in the 1980s. And this box set of 3 movies, Ozploitation Rarities Volume 1, has 3 10BA movies in it, only one of which ever got a theatrical release in Australia. Now, this is a limited edition of 1,000. Now, the implication with the Ozploitation Rarities Volume 1 is that Umbrella have got more movies up their sleeve to make another box set from. At least I hope they continue, because it's an interesting way of packaging movies that aren't the best pieces of cinema in the world, but are entertaining. And I've watched all 3 of them recently. There are going to be movies here you haven't seen before, and that's part of the joy of it. Finding movies that you haven't seen that haven't got a decent release. 2 of these only got releases here in Australia on VHS, and it hasn't been released since. And that's interesting, because basically a box set like this is a part of Australian cultural history. Now, this has got a limited edition of 1,000. And I'll read out the extras on the back, but I'll show you the movies and the cards first. The movies are Crosstalk with Gary Day, which is a kind of proto-cyberpunk movie in some ways. Guy who's got temporary disabilities in a wheelchair because of a car accident is creating a household surveillance AI. In 1980s, he got CRT monitors, he's got enormous magnetic reel discs and things like that. And he's created an AI, and he's ensconced in an apartment at the top of a high-rise building, and the AI sees a murder occur in one of the other flats. So this is like a cross between Demon Seed and Rear Window, and the AI is trying to communicate to him that this murder has occurred. Interesting film. It isn't fantastic. It had a lot of problems when it was getting made. They sacked the director and got another director in, and while they were getting another director in, they had somebody run over the script and smooth out the rough edges. But it is a really interesting little film, and I kind of like it. It's shot in anamorphic 2.35 to 1 ratio, so it looks beautiful. And it's got a really great production design. There's lots of neon, and it makes it look like a more recent film than it actually is. There's the back cover, and that's kind of groovy. Lots of special features. I'll give you the special features individually on the discs. Shooting Hitchcock Down Under, an interview with cinematographer Vince Monton. And Vincent Monton did a fantastic job on the cinematography in this. Rear Window meets 2001, a visual essay by screenwriter and author Stephen Vag, and that's good too. There's a Not Quite Hollywood interview with executive producer Ross Matthews. Archival interview with the director Mark Edgerton. He's the director who came in as the second director. Executive producer Ross Matthews and composer Chris Neal. Archival interview with the original writer and director Keith Salvett, conducted by film critic David Stratton, which is an audio-only thing, theatrical trailer and extended theatrical trailer. And there's something on here called the VHS Experience, where you can watch the movie as if it was a VHS tape. And all three of these movies have that. You can watch them like you're in the 1980s, which I find fascinating and fantastic. I watched this and I find it a really interesting film. I don't think it's the best movie ever, but it's got a little mood of its own, and it's very much one of those kind of bloody, gory 1980s films. And the acting is good. Gary Day playing the computer guy is good. John Hewitt, an actor mostly known for playing much lighter roles, plays the killer in it, and he is fantastic. Jill Forster plays his wife. It's really packed with good actors. This one you should check out. I think it punched harder than I expected it to. Then there's this really weird one from Queensland, which was the first movie made by the Queensland Film Commission, which after a few years died because of corruption. It was a product of the 1980s Joe Pajoki Peterson government in Queensland. Queensland had a fascist state government, a phenomenon which is familiar to Americans. And they made the first movie in the Queensland Film Commission, a really gory and sexy thriller, even though Queensland was banning gore and sex in all other movies they didn't have a part of. It's a movie called Final Cut, which is really interesting. It's about a documentary filmmaker who interviews and kind of gets close to a very corrupt record producer called Dominic Black. And he wants to make a documentary about him. He wants to get beneath the scenes and find out what's really going on with this guy. And his girlfriend, played by Jennifer Clough, is there as well because she's a journalist. She wants to dig into it and she's got the chops to do that. So the first they go on to his yacht and see all sorts of sexy, edgy goings on. And then they get invited to his high-rise, high-tech apartment where he and his kind of girlfriend live. And it descends into a kind of, they get doped with drugs, the reality and fiction break down. They're getting played again by this guy, Dominic. The apartment's beautiful. It's a high-rise penthouse, top of the Gold Coast in Queensland, before the Gold Coast got full of these kinds of apartments. And it's a really weird film, but really cool as well. I've got to show you the posters. There are two posters in this, double-sided. Here's the one from Crosstalk, which has that wonderful 1980s type artwork, and I like that one. And I won't show you the other side of it because it's the third movie I haven't talked about yet. But also you get, but in Final Cut, you get another poster as well, which is that one. And the cover of the box set, which is a nice piece of artwork showing aspects of all three movies. And inside Crosstalk, there's the disc for it. And inside Final Cut, there's a disc for it. Now, the extras on Final Cut, 2024 audio commentary with the producer Mike Williams, moderated by screenwriter Shane Armstrong. Also for you is a visual essay from author and TV historian Andrew Mercado, which is really good. Andrew Mercado is great at contextualizing the prurient aspects of not only this movie, but a lot of the movies of its time. There's a Not Quite Hollywood interview with the director Rod Stimsey. Again, you get a VHS experience of this, so you can watch it as if it's a VHS tape. A stills gallery and a trailer. So nice content there. The third movie is a slasher film I'd heard about but never seen. And it stars people who are mostly known for television work. There's a handyman played by Chad Hayward, who is a wrong'un. He rapes and assaults the ladies he works for. They don't tell on him because they don't want to get the police involved. And then he goes and assaults a pop star. And her sister comes along as things progress and gets monstered by him on one night. And it's a cat and mouse game that is played by this killer. And the sister, whose name is Jenny, played by Deborah Howard. Great film called Lady Stay Dead. Lady Stay Dead is a really good thriller. It was directed and written by Terry Burke, who wrote a whole bunch of other films like Enter the Damned and a number of other exploitation films of the time. But this one really works. It's filmed on the northern beaches north of Sydney, around the Barrenjoey Peninsula, and it's really freaky. The killer in this, whose name is... doesn't tell me, but Chad Hayward is really creepy in this. Now, some security guys come along and try to save this lady, and they're played by James Elliott, who was known for playing a character in Number 96, the famous Australian soap opera. And Chad Hayward, who plays the killer in this, was known for playing a character called Dudley Butterfield, who was a campy gay guy in that series. But in this movie, he plays something totally different and something totally wrong. It's a really tight thriller. There's a lot of gore, there's some nudity in it, but there's a lot of gore and there's a lot of suspense, and it works really well as a 1980s suspense slasher film. There's really nice artwork on this disc as well. The extras on this are fantastic. There's a 2024 interview with actor Chad Hayward, audio only. Not quite Hollywood interview with Roger Ward, who plays the other security guy in this. And Roger Ward's like a legend in Australian cult cinema. He's been working hard in Australian cinema since 1970. Archival interview with co-producer John Hipwell, conducted by film buff Paul Harris. That's audio only as well. The D.W. Griffith of Ozploitation is a visual essay on filmmaker Terry Burke by Paul Harris. Terry Burke trailer reel the VHS experience again, so you can watch it like VHS. Stills gallery and a theatrical trailer. This is the one that I really like the most out of these three. It's a really competent slasher film, and there's a guerrilla war going on between this woman and this mad gardener who is a total freak, and it escalates and escalates and escalates and just goes to really weird places. Again, it's not a large budget film, none of these are, but it does give full value for your time, and I really enjoyed it. This one surprised the hell out of me how adept it was at doing what it did. Then of course you get a booklet. Ozploitation Rarities, the Volume 1, a booklet. Prying Eyes and Unhinged Desires, an introduction to Oz Rarities by Paul Harris, where he does mini essays about all three films. There's Chad Hayward playing the mad gardener. Really nice role, that one. There's a little bit of the production design for Crosstalk. Again, it looks fantastic, this film, and it has some aspects to it that I really appreciated. Final Cut and the much maligned Queensland Film Commission, an essay by Stephen Vagg. There's some production stills for Final Cut. Nothing there I can't show you, fortunately. Essays about Lady Stay Dead, and a lot of other stuff which I definitely can't show you. But I love the fact that Umbrella put this one out, because these movies you wouldn't release by themselves. They're minor films. They look good. The transfers are fantastic, but they're minor films. They're not films that are going to sell themselves just as individual films. But if you put them into a collection, they are going to sell, and you're going to have a real experience watching these three movies together and just going on this trip of, this is where a certain level of cinema was in Australia in the 1980s. Well, I didn't show you the back. I can show you the back cover. There's the back cover artwork of the box as well. This one is fantastic. I want to see what Umbrella does for Ozploitation Rarities Volume 2. So there are the three boxes, each very different genres, each of them from very different parts of the world. In fact, you got the Europeanness of A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, you've got the Indonesian action cinema of The Raid, and you've got Ozploitation from the 1980s in Ozploitation Rarities Volume 1. It's a really great month for Umbrella, and thank you to Umbrella for giving me these ones to review. I had a great time with these movies, and I'm going to re-watch them as well, because as an Australian, I love the fact that the movies of my nation are being released, particularly by Umbrella, and are being contextualized by all the extras that they have in it. It's just wonderful to see these, to enjoy these, and to be able to tell people about them as well. Because for so long, there was very little Australian cinema. Then we got a flood of it from the 1970s into the 80s and 90s and onwards. But we had a drought there at the time I was born and afterwards. And then we started making films, and making films with Australian identity. And I appreciate that, and the fact that I can own copies of them is something that warms my heart in a very real way. So that's it for this story. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Then it'll also tell you when new videos are coming up. You can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or by becoming a patron at patreon.com/terrytalksmovies. I've just recorded my 3rd travel vlog where I drive around various places and talk. And the first 2 have been really well received. And they get given to the Patreon people much earlier than they do to the main channel. So thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, when I'm doing Science Fiction Saturday, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Definitely watch some Australian exploitation films. You're going to have a great time with them. And I'll catch you next time.